Welcome everyone to your podcast, Música y Mezcal. I am here with LowDown Brass Band. They are here from Justin from Chicago. I'm here with Andrew, Shane, and Billa. So really nice to have you guys here. We're going to start with a nice cheers.
All right.
Yeah.
Salud.
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 Yeah. You guys also do that. Mm-hmm. The whole why do you guys do that?
We don't even know.
Yeah, it's just what people do in Chicago.
Sam, do we know Sam?
Cheers to you and cheers to the house.
There we go.
To the house.
Oh, okay. So I think I've heard in Vancouver they do this, but they do the tapping because it's like for those who are gone.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and then in Mexico some people do it, but it's like something that has to do with like 7 years of bad sex or something like that. Okay. Or it's just like totally different. So I was just curious. I never do it because like it's not really like the biggest thing in Mexico, but some people do it. So yeah, anyway. So that has nothing to do with what I'm planning on talking with you guys. So you played this year at Guilt. You have started your musical career long before visiting Vancouver. You started in 2008. How did you guys come together and thought like this is going to be like a band we want to try out?
I mean, being in Chicago and all being horn players, nearly every band of any type of genre always wants to add on horn players. And we were all just really close friends, having played in a bunch of different type of bands together, and decided one day, hey, we can start a brass band. And when we first started, it wasn't even kind of that serious. It was just kind of like buddies getting together and drinking and writing songs. And, after a while, we saw something that we had that people really liked, and we started kind of incorporating our own sound into the genre. And here we are.
Yeah, nice. How did you, when did you decide, let's get hip hop on board?
Well, our sousaphone player and I, his name is Lance, we were in a hip hop band together for I want to say about 6 or 7 years. And once that dissolved, LowDown was already going, and he kind of eventually was like, well, why don't you come to a gig or two and see, how it works. And then one gig turned into two turned into three, and it just kind of kept going. So it was never from my standpoint, it was never like a super
planned thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It just happened to work, and we just stuck with it.
Nice.
So
yeah, it's really cool. I also noticed your first albums were there wasn't that much hip hop. It was more like the dancehall and
second line.
Yeah, and then you started to incorporate more and more hip hop. Did that happen because you had you could notice changes in people that were reacting to it, or was it more also it just happened?
I mean, yeah, I would say so. I mean, one of the great things about this band is that we travel a lot. We've been traveling a lot for a long time now. And, we slowly started adding more and more of Billa into the set. And also just kind of changing up some of the grooves that we were using as well. Getting away from that second line New Orleans stuff and a little bit more towards the funk and hip hop and soul of Chicago. And it just happened to, over time, seeing the audience reactions, seeing what they like. The band is really road tested. It evolved. The music evolved with the band as we were traveling. The more we traveled, the music just kept evolving.
Nice, yeah. And how did you start? Why did you all start playing, brass, horns? And was it? Do you play?
No, I don't play brass. No.
He plays trombone. He plays trombone.
No, I'm not going to claim it.
Yeah, I think a lot of us just came up playing the horn instruments as far back as we all can remember as kids. So, I mean, I played the trombone and played my whole life, right? So a lot of us are freelancers in the Chicago scene too, playing a bunch of different bands, but kind of how Shane said, we came together with this band, and we really have the power to do what we want as horn players.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
And was it or do you have musical families?
Oh, yeah.
Was it were you
I think everyone has a different answer for that.
Yeah,
I know for me, I'm the pioneer musician in my family, but Shane has a very different story to share.
You know, my grandfather was a pastor of a church. I grew up in a small town in Texas originally.
Oh, okay.
And so my family were all church musicians. They had a traveling gospel group that traveled around. And
was it Salvation Army? You know, I know they have like Salvation Army has like these big, they make their own like brass bands.
No, I
for
wasn't
their
a brass band. You know, my first instrument was drums and then bass. And then I started playing trumpet in the church when I was probably about 11.
Okay.
But yeah, I had my family was all musical. You know, my mom played piano, my brother played trumpet as well and drums, and my sister played keys and saxophone.
Yeah.
And then you had some guys that came up and, you know, learned through the school system in the band. A couple other church guys, you know.
Yeah. And how did you jump into music if there was nobody in your family?
Man. I think for me, it was just about community, like, and it was something I was probably pretty good at the time. So I took it on really quickly. But even now, being almost 40, like the best part about playing is being part of the community and like within our own group, but then the cats and musicians around us and everything that comes with it. It's a blast.
Yeah, I can imagine. And how did you get into music?
Well, when I was young, my mother always had me writing. So she would have me write poetry. She'd have me write plays. And then she also put me in a school called Harlem School of the Arts. And she tried everything. She tried drums, she tried violin, she tried piano, and none of that really stuck, but the writing always stuck. So I was originally born in New York, and as I was growing up, hip hop was becoming huge. So it just kind of naturally
Gravitated towards.
You know what I mean? And I was already writing, so it just kind of morphed into something that I was already doing. It just added the beat to it, you know? So
yeah,
it's kind of natural.
And then when you sit down to write songs, do you usually, like, how does it work? Do you guys have like, okay, we're going to start with this bass line, and then you start adding like the rest? Or is it like, I have this, do you come up and you do, like, I have this beat, I have this like rhythm, I have this lyrics, and I want like this kind of melody beat, like, you know, behind it? Is it a mix of everything?
Yeah, pretty much everything you just named is the way it goes down. So it can go down any way. You know, he can come with something, I can come with something, Andrew could come with something, our sousaphone player Lance can come with something. So it's not really, I feel like if you decide, hey, it has to come this way, you're gonna like not take advantage of all creativity in the room. So if you just naturally are accepting of where something comes from and you just build from there, I feel like you're gonna have the best possibilities out of that. You know?
Yeah. And now that you're touring these two last albums that you had, how did you do it? Like you basically did those albums while like during COVID. So I imagine it was like extremely challenging, but you guys kept yourselves like really busy because you know, came up with two albums. And so how did like that brainstorming, writing the songs during that time came about?
Well, I mean, just like for everybody else, you know, lots of people in the band actually used to be just a little bit bigger. And we had a couple guys that decided to move on and do some other things with their lives. And so we saw ourselves being forced with kind of a need to kind of reinvent our image a little bit around the new sound that we had already been touring on. But we had these last two albums were kind of the first ones where we really got to showcase that in the studio. So we just took that as an opportunity because everybody had time at that moment in time. And we did this thing called the Real Sessions, where we did, for every 2 weeks, we made a new song and we made a video for that song. And we did it we did it 10 times. I don't know how long it lasted. It was probably
20. It took 20 weeks.
Yeah, 20 weeks. And that really propelled us because it doesn't sound like it's a lot, but to do a brand new song and a new video every 2 weeks, we had to go out and film it during COVID. So we did a lot of it guerrilla style, just going in Chicago. If you watch it, you can watch them all on YouTube back to back, and it's really kind of a beautiful representation of the city. It's kind of all over downtown. Lots of fun stuff, but and then the LowDown. A lot of it recorded. Yes, how we did a lot of it recorded remotely. Okay. So we would record. Everybody would record their parts. We'd bring it together, and just because we'd been playing together for so long, we were able to do that. It's not the most ideal way to record, but like it was kind of fun to take on that challenge and see what we could do with it. It's fun to get into the studio and make music is kind of a whole nother art form of making it. So,
and what kind of challenges did you encounter the most besides not being able to like be together? But like when writing, you're like, oh, I usually do this when when we're in person, and now I can't. Because you have to be like, hey, you there? Hey, you there? No. Hey, I can't hear you. I lost you.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest challenge we had during those COVID years was just the transformation we went through as a band. Kind of like what Shane was saying. We lost some cats, but ultimately it helped us move forward and kind of find like our current sound of where we're at. And those real sessions like probably were the saving grace for all of that. I think like if you really take some time to reflect on it,
like all the
and we did that second year of COVID, like 21 or 2020, I think, right?
I think
it was 21.
It was 21.
Yeah, and I mean that kept us going, but it also helped us all find something new and fresh within ourselves. So I mean, it was pretty rad.
Well, and it also kept the camaraderie together because it would have been real easy for everybody to kind of just float away.
Yeah.
But having to be together for so much in a week span of time, it's like you remember how much you love being around all the guys and making stuff with them and like wanting to push forward and keep things going and not succumb to the complications of COVID,
Yeah.
And now we're like almost 2024, and it feels like, I mean, this is where we're at now. Like we're powerful now. We're rolling through. I mean, we've as soon as we could get back out on the road, we did that. So it's been like a solid 2 years, maybe 2.5 years now. And it's been
and I see
incredible. So.
Like the way you do like your touring is like pretty like kind of tight. Like you do like 3 gigs in 3 days, so it's kind of like, and in different cities, so it's kind of like
we found that works really well. I mean, I don't want to speak for the whole band, but I always imagine like this band. This is like 2018, 19 when we were touring at that time, doing things right. We had been even up here in Canada already at that point. But for me, I was like, man, the dream would be to just like fly out for like 3 or 4 days. Awesome destinations, do some killing gigs, and then like go back and do it again the next weekend. So here we are now, and it's like sort of happening. And now we have bigger dreams now. So think about next year.
Nice. So what are your plans for next year? Like what are
so far? What are we doing? I mean.
We have, Miami or sort of this deep south. We got
New York,
a
couple gigs there. We're going to Jackson Hole, and we're playing this festival called the Treeford Music Festival in Idaho. That's pretty awesome fest for us to land. And
then you've done all
Alaska.
Oh, wow.
Fest. Yeah, we've been to Alaska quite a few times. We love going.
Nice. Yeah. How is like do you find like there's different reactions like depending on different?
Oh yeah. Good question.
They love the party.
Yeah.
Alaska, it's crazy up in Alaska.
Wow, it's funny.
But the West Coast in general, we really love coming out to the West Coast, especially the Pacific Northwest up here in Vancouver and like even down in Southern California. We just love it out west. Everybody seems to have a great reaction to the band.
Okay, nice. I mean, because like I know it might have something or nothing to do with it, but like it rains a lot here in Vancouver. Like so I feel like people here are just a lot more like just like whatever,
I mean,
I might be wrong.
We live in Chicago, so we understand.
This is kind of the vibe this morning. But I'm excited for tonight because we've only played in Vancouver in the summertime. So I was like, we got to play her in the winter and see what's up.
Yeah. Well, I bet you are going to see a difference, especially because like, so the moment when you played at Guild, it was really hot, really hot. And it gets really hot in that basement.
Yeah.
But it was really fun to see that a lot of people like stuck around because a lot of people do just like stay for one set and then they're like, no, I need to like
breathe.
Yeah, I need to breathe. And some people leave, but a lot of like most of the people just stay there, which was pretty cool. Yeah. And like I guess tonight is gonna be like everyone's gonna stay. Like everyone's definitely gonna stay. We are busier like during the winter times.
Oh, nice.
So it was crazy still, like when you guys played. So I feel like it's gonna be crazier
gonna be fun,
today. Yeah, it's gonna be really fun. And then what challenges do you experience because you're a big band?
There's 7 of us.
So,
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, like, are you 8 or how many are you?
yeah,
No, we've been a solid 7
for years.
2-3 years now.
Okay.
It's
It works out nice.
solid. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good.
So, and then like Guild stage is like, it's not really big. And you have like big instruments as well. It's not like you're playing with, I don't know, a little thing.
Sure.
So like, do you have other experiences like even like smaller
man.
stages when you're just like kind of
Probably.
like, I need to do like, get away from me. I need to do this,
Oh yeah.
this tune.
Well, I mean, like, to be honest, we do have big instruments, but they're horns, so they're all kind of like in front of you.
Yeah.
So you can get kind of close. So depending on how big the stage is, we might just not be able to move
Just,
and
like,
dance
not move.
around
Yeah,
as
yeah,
much, and then rubbing shoulders. But yeah, we've played some pretty small places, but we've played some pretty big ones too. So yeah, whatever the night calls for, basically.
Yeah. And do you feel like it changes anything into your like performance?
I mean, you can't get as loose, but I mean, for the most part, we still come with the same amount of energy.
Yeah.
It's just not a bunch of, side to side action.
Yeah. You guys don't get angry. You're like, stop
Yes,
pushing me.
we get super into that,
You're pushing me a lot. Like,
Yeah.
like brothers.
basically.
Yeah. Okay. So you've done these last 2 albums that I also feel like it does have like a very, I don't know how to explain it, but like a different sound than your first album. Obviously, because like what you've mentioned, like the band has been evolving. But it also like the first album seems like, I don't know where you recorded it, but it sounds like it does have this like kind of like I'm in this place where people can dance, and it just sounds a little bit like that. And then this last 2 albums are more like, I don't know, like in a contained space. But I don't know if I'm wrong. And like, what made you decide into like having those different kind of sounds?
Well, I wasn't on the first album, but the first album would be more live sounding, and then
yeah.
the last 2 that you're referring to, it would be more like
In the studio, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. More processed, more in the hip hop direction opposed to live band direction.
Yeah.
So that's where you're feeling on the first album, you're feeling a lot of the reverb of the room, and on this album, you're gonna get less of that, so it has less of a live sound, and it's more direct. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where the differences lie to me.
Yeah.
Did
you decide like you wanted something like?
Yeah, I mean, well, for years and years, the first few things that we put out, we were always kind of trying to capture what you might come see at a live show if you saw the band playing, and which is always an amazing experience. I feel like when you come to a LowDown show, it's horns in your face, there's dancing, it's party atmosphere. And we always tried to capture that on the studio album. And even though we did it pretty well a couple of times, I felt like once we added Billa, the sound was starting to progress more and more and more in that hip hop direction. And we were even doing that live, but we didn't have any studio recordings to kind of represent the way we wanted people to be able to go home and be able to bump in their car the same kind of deal that they would hearing on stage when they would come to a show. And we didn't have that representation yet. So we decided to kind of just really dive in and get something like really quality that you could hear on the radio right next to anything on the most popular station.
Yeah. Nice. I feel like it's. I just didn't like know obviously like why you would change it. But yeah, it's like it's awesome to get to listen that kind of like different vibe, even though it's the same band, but in a different like I don't know, like it's evolution, I guess. And now that you've been playing in Canada, you mentioned you've been playing here like since 2018.
I think so.
What parts of like you've been in Toronto, Montreal, like the jazz festivals?
Yeah, we played
also Vancouver.
we played Montreal Jazz Fest twice now. I mean, we're hoping to go back. We'll
Yeah.
see. But last year we did the Winnipeg Folk Fest. We did the Victoria Jazz Fest. We've done the Ska Reggae Fest in Victoria.
Oh, nice.
Edmonton.
Yeah, the Edmonton Jazz.
Saskatoon.
Yeah,
Calgary.
We got some more, in the works you probably can't talk about right now, but things are coming if people pay attention and follow us. But we are, though, going back to Toronto, though, next month.
Oh, nice.
Which will be exciting. We're playing at this place called the Horseshoe. It's a legendary music venue in downtown Toronto.
Nice.
And we love coming up to Canada. It's been like second home to us, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So, we're going to keep coming and doing our thing.
Did you also, when you started to like separate to that like more Louisiana kind of, or like the New Orleans kind of sound, did it like try to move more into like the Chicago kind of sound? Was it like, did you try to like, what are your influences from Chicago that you were like, we need to start like, kind of spacing ourselves more from that sound to make us sound more like from home?
Well, I wouldn't say it was trying to sound more like home. I think it was trying to be more authentic to our taste as artists. So it wasn't necessarily say, hey, we have to sound like we're from Chicago. We just naturally sound like that.
Yeah.
So it's incorporating everything. Like he plays in a great reggae band. He also does too. He plays in a great Latin band. Sam over there on the couch plays in a great, I don't know, brass punk band, if you want to call it that. You know what I mean? So
like, yep.
And they're super big too. So like, I mean, there's a bunch of influences coming from everywhere. And it wasn't like we said, hey, let's sound more like Chicago. It was more like, hey, let's stop sounding like something where we're not from.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And it's also like a little bit, when we say it just evolved, like it really didn't happen overnight, because like when we first started out, there definitely was the intention of being like, oh, we're going to write songs kind of in the style of, Rebirth Brass Band or Dirty Dozen from New Orleans. But the one thing that we always did was we always wrote our own original music. And then even from then, when we were still kind of doing that second line stuff, we would still have like hip hop songs that were our original songs that would sound a little bit more like who we were as artists. And then over time, you just add more and more and more and more. And then, like Billa said, it was just a matter of like trying to be more authentic to our artistic selves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like also when you come see a live show now, it's like you still see these elements of like what the old part of the old sound that we used to have are still in there. And because it's really all connected, like, New Orleans music and hip hop and jazz and all that stuff, soul, funk, it's all connected back to this root, so
totally.
it just works.
And then you have a few songs which I also wanted to talk about, some songs in Spanish where you have like some verses in Spanish. How did that come about? Like when did you decide like, we're just going to start it?
Well, he's from Texas, so he's always like little Tex-Mex. And then, so he wrote this, the one that I can specifically think of is Renor de la Noche. And it's going back between English and Spanish in that. And when I heard that, I was like, well, I might as well rap in Spanish to, just to make it cool and make it more fun for myself,
Yeah,
so.
Which was really cool. Like, how did you sit down and be like, okay, now I need to rap in Spanish?
Well, I was actually, during the pandemic, I started to learn, acquire Spanish.
She's going to start asking you right
No, please don't put me on the spot.
De verdad? I'm going to start like, no.
Right. But so like, so I was learning Spanish at the same time, or acquiring Spanish at the same time. So that actually was one of the things that people, when I was, learning hacks to learn how to learn Spanish.
Yeah.
They were saying, write songs in Spanish, do things in Spanish, and like we just happened to have a song in Spanish, and I was like, well, this is the perfect time to try it,
Nice.
And it actually helps me to this day remember some words that I like might forget just because it's in that verse. So I'm like, oh yeah, I know what that means because it's in that verse.
I said this in this verse. I actually wrote it.
You know what I mean? Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the cool things about the band too, I think, in some of the comments we get from people when we play, is that like you kind of will hear all the genres in a show. So like you're going to hear some Latin, you're going to hear some reggae, you're going to hear some hip hop, you're going to hear some soul. It's just a little bit of everything. And we love the Latin rhythms for sure.
Yeah. So does that mean you speak Spanish then?
No.
What part of from Texas are you from?
I'm from a small town. It's called Chrome, which is close to, I guess, north of Dallas is where you would say. But you're not gonna. Yeah, it's really small.
Well, I'm from Monterrey, so I'm from Northeast, but it's like border with Texas.
Yeah. So
not
I'm
Monterrey,
closer
but
to
like,
Oklahoma than I am to Mexico.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, well, we could be neighbors, but
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Texas is a big place. So.
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the time, I was playing in this Latin group with the Honduran guitar player whose name is Charlie Barran, in a group called Radio Free Honduras. And I had written a few songs that I didn't know if I was going to use with those guys, and this one worked out great for LowDown because.
Yeah.
Billa put that nice Spanish verse on there.
Because he wanted to sing it. In the other band, he might not have sung it.
Es la verdad.
I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. We're all learning something.
Yeah, nice.
And now that you like have these, or you have Ranura de la Noche, are you planning on still like maybe working on something that also has some Spanish in it? Or is it like, we'll see what happens?
I mean, there's no really rules for us when it comes to writing, especially for Bill and I lyrically. Like whatever we feel like. And sometimes the music lends for that as well, So. Yeah.
Do you have sometimes like moments when you have to be like, I have to sacrifice like either this, these lyrics instead of like this part of the melody, like when I'm playing this sound, and you're like kind of maybe or not like fighting over it, like, no, we need to keep this lyric, and you're like, no, I want to keep this, this sound.
I mean, I'm pretty easy. Like, I'll get rid of if a part of a song doesn't work, I'm totally cool with parting ways with it. Especially it could even be something I made. It's like, but whatever's best for the song is the way I feel.
Is there someone who usually like tries to take control of like, no, like I think this is like the best way the song can.
I don't think so. It's kind of collective. I mean, Billa and myself, and then like the sousaphone player Lance Loisel, we've spent a lot of time in the studio together, kind of helping each other make those decisions. But like, it's not one person that's ever just like saying, do this, do that, don't do that.
Yeah.
The times that it has been, it always just doesn't work out the best.
Yeah.
So it's better to like leave it open.
And we also have to give credit to our engineer Dan Zorn, because he's kind of the mediator between all of the opinions in the band. We'll kind of go with what he says, for not all the time, but for the most part, because he is
like the outside.
Exactly, the outside ear. So he's not all in it, and he's just looking at it from the outside and being like, no, guys, this is probably the best way to do it. So that's kind of
absolutely
kind of mediates it a little,
Yeah. How have you been like feeling playing at Guild since the first time that you played, and then this June that you played?
Well, the first time we played, I mean, it was on our list as one of the funnest shows we ever had.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Because we used to say the two best shows that we had, or the two funnest shows, was Montreal Jazz Fest the second time on the big stage, and then Guilt & Co., because it was a smaller club, but I mean the energy in there the first time. I mean, there was a line outside the door the whole night, and people never really left.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, if you're gonna have a small club show, I mean, to me that's like the most awesomest club show you can possibly have.
Nice. What's your favorite place to play at in Chicago?
Ooh.
Like that has that kind of like, this feels like really. It feels
I'm
like.
trying to think.
Do you have one, Zal?
I mean, I guess it could be different for like.
It would probably be different for all three of us.
Yeah, we might all need to give that answer. I think for me, it's gonna be the Hideout.
I knew he was gonna say that.
Yeah. I literally just played another show there a couple weeks ago. Not with these guys, with another band, but we've crushed there plenty of times over the years, and
Yeah.
it's also a small room. I mean, it's like 180 cap, so it's got that intimate vibe that Guilt & Company has, but it's standing room only. It's kind of a dive. And we haven't played there in a while because we've kind of just grown out of that space, but it's a very special space. So that'd probably be my
Your favorite, yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys say?
I'll let him go first because I'm still thinking.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a really hard one for me.
Just go with it.
I mean, there's so many great places in Chicago. I mean, I don't want to say it because one of my favorite places they closed down a few years ago. It used to be the Double Door. But now I would say that's probably still open. I really like playing at Lincoln Hall, which is like there's two clubs in Chicago that are owned by the same people, Lincoln Hall and Shuba's, and they're both like really great places to play. Great sound, great rooms.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna talk about a rowdy show, I have to co-sign with Andrew about the Hideout, but also I do like some of the classier joints that we've played. You know, you could play at Andy's Jazz Club downtown. You can play at Untitled, which is a burlesque bar.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of awesome. It's like, you know, it's just kind of depending on what mood am I in for the night, which one I would choose.
Yeah.
So
is it like different crowds as well? Like
Oh,
different
yeah.
kind of like rowdiness or
Yeah.
oh yeah.
yeah.
The Andy's Jazz Club is like grown and sexy, and so is Untitled. So it's not like you're not raging around the room. You're just sitting there like
Yeah.
nodding your head, you know? So
And do you have like favorite places to play like back home, like you in Texas? Have you played?
We have,
Yeah?
we just recently did. I mean, one of my favorite places to play in Texas for us is San Antonio. There's this little spot called Luna, and every time we play there, it's just a packed house, and everyone loves it and love the mixture of people and just the vibe in general. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Do you guys have like? Well, you're from New York, but I don't know if you have like a favorite place to. Have you played in New York? Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, yeah, you have.
Oh, well, it's fairly new to us. We only played there once, but I loved it. It was Ahmad's Jazz Club, and it's kind of super fancy, but it's like still cool. It's like underground.
Yeah.
So like it's like you gotta
It's like
kinda,
that in between.
Yeah, you gotta kind of be like in the know to go.
Yeah. And we may or may not be playing there in March.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
First weekend.
May or may not.
That's right.
Yeah.
So many
Check
details.
it out. But yeah,
Just like-
that place is dope.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So people should, stay aware.
That's right.
Be aware. Yeah. Okay. Now that you're touring these two albums, are you working on another album right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're actually starting to tour on the album that's coming out in the spring. We just came out with, this is our fourth single off the album that just came out. It's called So Long. The name of the album is going to be called Citizens of the World. Yeah, so we're excited about that. We're going to come out with a couple more singles before the album comes out, probably, hopefully in April. Around then, that's the plan.
Like ish. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're excited about that. Look for even more evolution in the sound and all that stuff.
Nice. And it's you seven, the same seven, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Now that you've also you've worked with these two albums, you're working on this last album. Do you feel like there's also a difference between how your sound has evolved, like how you write the lyrics now versus how you did back in 2008, 2011?
Oh yeah. Well, I wasn't on those records, but I can, from an outside looking in, I could totally tell you there's a complete difference.
Yeah.
Because go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, when she first said that, I thought you were gonna just say even from the last two albums, because I think that way we have written lyrics is different even from when we first started the real sessions back during the pandemic. We've just gotten better at it. Started to be a little bit more vulnerable with our topics and just continue to grow as artists and individuals and letting people in a little bit more on who we are. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Do you have any songs where you felt like the most vulnerable while writing them, or playing them even?
I love the new single, So Long.
Yeah. That's what
I think both these guys are,
Crushing it.
letting the truth out.
Yeah.
It's a kick-ass song.
Yeah.
I'll agree with Andrew.
Yeah. It's
Did you feel it
It's one of my
yeah.
favorites. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you sit down to write that? Were you in a specific moment in your?
That was pandemic style too. So it's just kind of passing it around
Yeah.
and getting it done. But the reason that one is more, I guess you could say, vulnerable or sentimental is because it's slower. a lot of our songs are kind of up tempo, just because when you're a brass band, it's kind of like people are expecting.
It's kind of like that deal. That,
you know what I mean? So it's like that one is slower, so you can get more introspective on it. Or when you do get introspective on it, they can feel it more because the beat's not all in your face. The beat's laid back, so now you're really listening to the lyrics, and you're like, oh, okay, well, all right.
Like this is different.
Yeah, you know, so.
But you guys don't necessarily feel like something. You just like feel it musically because it's slower.
No. It's a love song, but it's about kind of yearning for love that's not there, that you can't wait to get back to.
Okay.
You know, and you know that could come from a real place or not. You know, who knows? But
we're not going to reveal
that will remain a secret.
No, it's not. I'm not saying that the slowness is why we feel that way. It's more about you can actually hear the lyrics or actually hear the emotion because the beat is slower.
Okay.
When you got brass bandy songs that are like high energy and stuff, it's like you could be saying a lot of important stuff, but it's kind of the music's taking over a little bit. Yeah. You know, so it's like this beat's more subdued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you have more songs that you've worked from like during the pandemic that you're now, or like songs that you worked during the pandemic that you didn't really record and like are kind of like workshopping when you tour?
Yes and no. I mean, lyrically, Billa and I have lots of songs that we're always kind of just like wondering if we should do something with, you know, and sometimes that turns into like workshopping it with the brass band or sometimes they just sits there until the time is right for it to be workshopped, you know? So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of let everything out in the pandemic. We didn't really save too much.
No, we did almost everything.
You know, we kind of put everything out there.
And do you have like older songs?
I mean, dude. I mean, everybody's got tons of older songs, you know?
Yeah.
Like Andrew's a great writer, you know?
Oh. Well, you haven't said anything.
Well, I'm kind of like the manager too, so I'm good at answering those questions. You know? But I think like we're always sliding in new songs into our set, right? Like we're already talking about what we're going to slide into the live show starting after the new year. Like, there's always things coming in that are fresh because like, I mean, it's good for a band too to play new material. Otherwise, you know, you want to stand, you know.
Yeah. Do you have a song that you've played like live that you were just like workshopping and then be like, oh, that was great. Like, I feel like we should now put it on the album or on an album or whatever.
I feel like those two new instrumentals you've been playing a bunch, which we're kind of like figuring out what to do with those, right? Like as far as like a recording would go, like it still seems undecided.
That's true.
But they kill live, so.
And have you had songs that you're like, well, I didn't expect that reaction? Like this was like...
That's a good question.
I mean, there's been stuff throughout the years. I mean, we've had songs that we recorded like out pretty well. And then when we tried to like do it in a live show for whatever reason, it just didn't catch on with the band feeling comfortable or with whether or not we thought the audience... Usually if the band really likes it, the audience will like it. So like if we don't really vibe on it, like we can try it once or twice and then somebody will be like, I don't think it's really working for it. Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't change much like from like if you like it, you know it's gonna be like okay. It doesn't really change for something that you workshop, like you're not gonna expect, or if you expect something different.
I mean, it's happened before, like I said. I mean, I'm thinking specifically, I mean, it's kind of inside, but we did this. We had a few days off in Colorado several years ago, and we workshopped this song and recorded it even at this place we were staying at. And then we tried to work it into the live show, and it just kind of just never like really clicked. And it never really worked. And in fact, one of the last times we were up here, somebody played it on their phone or something because we had forgotten all about it. And we were like, oh yeah, we did this song, but we only tried it. Like we were trying to decide how many times we tried it live. And I think it was like a total of twice. And we were just like, nah.
You let it die. Yeah. You were like, nope, it didn't work. Have you had any that you're like, no, it's going to work? It's just been like, we were just not in it. Like maybe you guys were, I don't know, like some of you guys were like just not in the mood or something. 'Cause I guess it can happen. Like,
well, okay, here's one that's like kind of in the middle. It goes back and forth. Like it works, but for some reason we kind of abandon it a little bit. We have a cover of Jimi Hendrix's Foxy Lady, and it works. It does well at the shows, but sometimes we don't play it, and I couldn't even tell you exactly why not. But sometimes it's like we're gung ho about it, and then sometimes it just falls off the set. I don't know if it's my fault, like if I'm not vouching for the song enough, or what. But it works. It just kind of like goes in and out sometimes. So like that one's in the gray area. It's like it works, but then do we want to play it? So it goes back and forth between all of it. You can have one that we thought was going to work that doesn't work, one that does work, and we just kind of go back and forth on it like, does it work or not? Then there are times when a song metamorphs into its own form through a bunch of live shows. Like maybe not the actual making of the song, but the form of the song. The solos, how many times the hook comes back, if there's any verses, like that definitely happens with the form of the song can change.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? So there is some improv and there is some experimentation going on up there.
I mean, for example, even the song he's talking about, we kind of started playing it more recently, and now there's a different form to the song that we've been doing live, and it's kind of been working. So we'll see if it stays in the set.
Yeah. I guess sometimes it can happen when you're just like playing, a set, and then you're like, oh, I feel like this song doesn't fit right now because it's, maybe a different crowd, different reaction. You're like, maybe this one doesn't fit right now. I mean, it's a song that works, but it just doesn't work right now, right here.
For sure.
Or, it can happen. I don't know. Have you ever had like moments where you're just like in the moment when you're just like, we're not going to play the song anymore?
Oh yeah, we
like don't do the song.
It was like on the set and we're not gonna play
like
it?
on the moment, like on the moment when
Yeah.
you're just like, and then you're like, no, let's
Yeah.
like just skip to this one.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
like, what? Yeah, okay, we'll skip it.
Probably every show almost. Yeah.
And how do those decisions come? Like,
I mean,
Just
like,
feel it.
usually it's like a read the room type situation.
Yeah.
Like, we've done some of these songs so many times, we have a pretty good idea what kind of reaction they may get. And like if we're reading the room and it's everybody's partying, everybody's on the dance floor, maybe the next song has like a really slow intro, it's introspective, we'll be like, okay, let's cut that and let's go to the next dance move, song or whatever. Or opposite, like if we've been playing a bunch of heavy dance hinting songs
and you're like, I need to breathe.
Yeah, or if the audience needs to breathe, so.
Okay, yeah. When you see someone just like trying to catch their breath.
That happens too.
Jump to a slow song.
The sousaphone player is like pounding a glass of water,
Do you think that you will incorporate like new sounds? Are you like new genres into your own music, or is it more like, no, you're just still doing what you're doing, like being your like more authentic?
Like I said, we're open to everything. So if a song calls for this genre that we haven't done yet, let's try it. Our main thing for the most part is to keep the party going.
Yeah.
Because like we said, we're a brass band. So it's like when people hear brass band, they're like, oh, we're going to march all around the room.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the main basis of everything. Can we get the energy in the room going? And whatever genre lends itself to that idea, we're totally open to it. It's not like we're just going to stick with what we're comfortable with. Like I'm down to try. We could do a polka song.
Yeah.
I think though we're pushing the specific instrumentation of our band though.
Okay.
Like forward,
yeah.
not trying to be like other bands that might get compared to us, all right? So like we want to have our own sound, and we've worked really hard at that to get to this space and place that we're at with our own sound with this group of instruments, which I think is really cool and really unique.
Yeah, and it's like last time you played at Guild, a bunch of people were like, "Who are these guys? Like, can I have their social media?" And it was really cool because it was like you can tell like even someone who has never listened to you guys is like immediately drawn and just like
Cool.
I need to know more.
Cool.
I need to know where else they're playing, and like, which is kind of cool because it's like it's not always the case for a lot of musicians. So
Yeah, and there's a lot of great artists and bands out there. It's
Yeah.
tough. I mean,
Yeah. So it's kind of cool. And not just like one person, you know, it was like a bunch of people being like, hey, like, can I?
That's great.
But I don't know. I think people just see us and like, they know we're having fun too. And like, we're like, at the end of the day, like we're out here. So
Yeah.
we got to have a good night too. Like otherwise, like, why are we doing this? Like, we're just trying to make good sounds and have a good show. That's also unique though. I want to pride us on like our uniqueness as a group.
Yeah, it
I
totally
think we
is.
do offer something that's different and fresh than what maybe folks are used to hearing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Especially up here, I think.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of brass bands out there that, I mean, they're great, they're awesome, but they're like, all they do is covers. And that's kind of like the scene sometimes. And
Like,
it's like,
it's
we don't
okay,
want to
but-
do any of that. Like,
Yeah.
we want to do our own sound and feature the talents of everyone in the band.
I mean, also, if you're already like really good at like doing you know, like your instruments and everything, like I feel like, well, yeah, you might as well not do covers and just, you know, hone your own talent even like, and and push it further. And yeah, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we're trying. Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing, like Andrew said, is the having fun thing with the band. I mean, we really are a big family. We really do have a great time on the road together, and I think people see it, you know, and it's infectious. And you know, it's the one thing that you might hear all the different genres when you come hear our live show, but it's really is revolved around dance. And like, to be honest, that's why it works. Whether you play second line from New Orleans or funk or soul or whatever, like the thing that strings kind of like the whole American songbook together is that people love to dance. And that's kind of what we want to make people do. Come out, have a great time, forget about their worries for the night. Remember that, you know, great stuff is still getting made. Original music is still getting made. And you can go out and listen to it and have a blast.
Yeah. Do you guys have like, do you draw inspiration sometimes? Like, how do you draw inspiration? And like, where do you mostly draw inspiration from?
I mean,
Is it like just like sudden? Is it like you kind of do practice?
it comes from everywhere. I could be reading, I could be watching a documentary, I could be listening to music, I could be driving, scenery, people. I mean, like I said earlier, it's like if you stay open to where inspiration or creativity can come from, then that's kind of the key of being like truly creative, is not blocking off where this inspiration can come from. And you take that and you harness it and you make sure you use what you felt in that moment to the fullest, no matter where it came from. It has no boundaries, you know. It can come from my son. It can come from, you know, it can come from him. It can come from him. It can come from anything. Like, I'm inspired by this apartment. I'm inspired by this view right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is all inspiring, you know?
Do you ever, like, have you ever had, because you mentioned earlier, like, making people dance is, like, kind of something that makes you not make music, but, like, you know, play the way you guys play.
Sure.
Have you ever been at a place where, you know, people are dancing and moving in a certain way where you're like, I kind of want to make this, kind of change this riff into something else, or, like, make this a song to make them, you know, move this other certain way? You know, like, is it like maybe some people that dance in a certain way, you're like, that's like
We do
very
take control
inspiring. I
of the
kind of want to
show
make
that
them
way, yeah.
like,
Yeah, I mean,
kind of want to make them do that again. Like,
yeah, I mean, I've never experienced it in the way that you're talking about, but like we do have like songs where we make people dance a certain way. Like,
Oh,
where
really?
we have like line dances that we show them how to do.
oh, nice. Okay.
We have like a song that has dance moves in the lyrics, which is actually kind of very Chicago old soul thing to do. And so, yeah, the audience kind of does the moves with us every show.
How is it like in the line? Like, you make them like form a line and do
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Not make a line, but we have everybody get up and like follow us, and the band shows them what to do.
Okay. Like,
Yeah.
you tell them, you don't,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
like you're doing something and then suddenly everyone's like hypnotized.
No, it's like, come on, everybody, get
Yes.
up. No. But yeah, it's like, yeah, come on, everybody, get up. We're about to show you how to do this dance. You know,
Nice. Nice. Is it only like for one specific song, or you do that for like any kind
Just
any
one.
song?
This one specific song is what I'm thinking
Okay.
of, but otherwise, it's kind of free play, free dance.
But yeah, usually at the clubs where people are sitting, by the time we're like halfway through our set, or, you know, under
Yeah.
that second set, people are up.
Yeah.
Like every time.
I also, I think, was this like the day before yesterday? I don't remember. But I was talking to a friend and I was telling them, like, I know like sometimes because we're at Guild, so we see some people standing and some sitting down, but like we were talking and then we told one person that was in the line like just come in and you can just stand and order your drinks at the bar. And they were like, oh, but there's like, what do I do? I was like, well, you just kind of stand, like you hang. And I was like, or you can go dance, which is basically why you kind of came here. Like I don't think you just came here to like, even to sit down and to sip your beer or your drink or whatever. And then she was like kind of shy. And I was like, listen, like this is the first set. This is the first like 5 minutes. Yeah. Everyone is sitting down because everyone is not drunk enough to feel like, a little bit less like, okay, I'm just screwed. I'm going to dance. But eventually everyone is going to be dancing and you're not going to feel so insecure. So just like get in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like 5 minutes like after that, you have like the brave person.
That's right.
Going like, fuck it, I'm gonna start dancing. And then the rest being like, yeah, sure, yeah.
Thank God for those brave people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cheers to those people.
Little
Yeah.
angels, that's
yeah.
right. So
yeah. Those are
we need more.
Oh yeah, you need a refill. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you all need a refill. I'm sorry.
Did I tell you we were a party
from
band?
Chicago.
It's the Chicago.
We complimented on our ability to party and be professional.
That's right. Party professionals. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh.
Good save.
Merci.
De rien.
Wait.
Thank you.
There you go. I'm gonna do a small one. Okay, so you do have some you have a song where you make people dance. Do you usually start with that song to make people just be like, or is it more like, these people are kind of
It's that
kind of shy. We're gonna make them dance beforehand.
Like that one's closer to the end, but we kind of kick off the party jumping. I mean, we have songs right at the beginning that are very much like get up and jump even. So
Well, you guys played together, like everyone was already dancing.
Yeah.
Like everyone was already like by like, I don't know, minute one. I don't think I saw anyone like sitting down and just be like, I'm a little bit shy. Everyone was like, really happy.
Awesome.
So that's pretty cool. Do you think there's a difference? Like you've also played like in these like festivals where everyone's, already standing up. Do you have these songs where everyone's actually like jumping?
Yeah. I mean, one particular song is called Ghost Town, and it's like the band starts jumping and the crowd will either start jumping or be like, whoa, because everybody's just kind of going crazy on stage. So that's one. We have a jumper song and then a stepping song. And then you just kind of use those to your advantage. They're both at separate ends of the set, so they don't come back to back.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But the jumping songs usually at the beginning. I don't know if tonight we'll play it so early, but usually it's like in a 90-minute set, the jumpers fairly at the beginning, and then the dancing, the coordinated dancing one is at the end.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was going to add to that, like, it depends on where we play too. I mean, what's cool about this band is we can play a jazz club like Gilton Company or a jazz festival. But then I'm thinking of Ghost Town specifically. We played the Winnipeg Folk Fest back in the summer, and our set got delayed because there was lightning coming. And then it started raining. So we went on about 50 minutes late, but we still went on. Yeah.
5-0.
And then all this crowd just emerged because our stage was tented, right? And all this huge crowd came by, and then we hit that tune, and people were just like freaking out and jumping because the anticipation built up, and
nice.
It was the right environment for that kind of atmosphere. But that's one of the cool things about this group is that we hit those different sort of places to play. Those doors are open to us, and it's been really awesome.
Yeah, nice. And will you not play soon in Montreal?
Oh man, we hope so.
Yes.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We are working on that.
The last time was pretty epic.
That was amazing, yeah.
For sure.
When was that?
2019, that summer.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. That was magical.
Yeah.
It's like the main stage, like how many people?
It was the day before Canada Day, and it was like so gorgeous, and they said that there was 39,000 people there in the square that day, so it was just crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know,
and everyone jumping, everyone dancing,
we
everyone
had like
just
moves where we do our hands and stuff like that. And the whole crowd was like, as far as the eyes could see, back doing it.
nice.
It's pretty awesome.
Nice. How do you feel like after you come like down from a stage like that and just like it's like too much
That's a good
adrenaline?
question.
It's all humbling because the next night you'll play a club with 30 people in it.
Exactly.
So you get reality checks, so you don't get too big in the head.
So you enjoy it for that evening is what you do.
Yeah, I think every musician deals with that. I follow the new drummer for the Foo Fighters.
Oh yeah.
His name's Josh Freese. I love following him. He's awesome. And he posted a video of him playing like Madison Square Garden. They did like multiple nights in a row. And then the next day he was at like TJ Maxx with his wife, like pushing the shopping cart, right?
Yeah.
Like shopping for clothes. Like, and it's just like, that sums it up for everyone. I mean, you go home and you're just like, you know, you're a regular person, but these magical moments, they're really special though. You gotta hold on to them, but yeah.
Well, that's what the drug is. You know, that's the drug.
Yeah.
You know, you do that, then you get your reality check. You go back home and you're sitting there like, man, I can't wait till the next time we get to do that. And you just kind of like, get addicted to it, you know?
Do you think like it's the same? Because I kind of, I see it from the outside, right? But I can kind of tell like when everyone, even playing at Guild, which is like, it's a small stage, but still you can see when a band had like this great set and they had like this great ending and everyone's like chanting like, yeah, like one more song. Like I can see them when they're still like, you know, like super hyped. And I'm like, I can't imagine how much adrenaline like you have right now, like running through your veins. Like, would it be the same if it was like a bigger
I
stage?
think you
I feel
can
like
have
it's
it in a
kind of
small
like this,
room and a big room. Like,
yeah, right?
It's that magical moment.
You could
Where it's
have it.
just
You
like-
could have it doing. You could have it singing for a group of your friends. If if they all like had like a special moment with you and loved it. That's what Bill I think is talking about. Like the drug of like just like getting that like of doing something that you love to do, and then having like the people that you know or don't know like just kind of like give you that. Sign off and say, yeah, you sound great, or you're wonderful, or I really enjoyed that, or it touched me, or whatever. Like, yeah, it's one of the best things there is.
Has anyone made you cry?
Yeah, I mean, almost. Well, in Calgary, there was this lady who came to the show, and I can't remember what exactly had happened, but something tragic had happened in her life with her son, and she basically said that the kind words that we said at the end of the show about passing that good energy on kind of was motivating her to get past this tragedy that she had just had. And she came up crying at the end of the show, and like I had to like be like, oh my God, I gotta hold this together because you know, but it was super emotional. It was kind of one of the realest things that I experienced within music over all these years, you know? And it was just like I had to be like,
We had a big group hug with her. It was a pretty beautiful moment for sure.
Have you had any other like moments like that?
I mean, not as
touching,
dramatic
like,
and kind of touching as that, but you know, we always have similar moments. Like I've had people come up to me and say, like, I really like the things that you guys represent. Like the thing we have this message that we say at the end of the show. Just about passing that good energy on, like Billa just said, and kind of just like making sure you're like passing on love and like making sure that you're remembering.
Paid forward.
All that kind of stuff. And like, you know, a lot of bands don't ever say anything like that. And I'm really proud of how we let people know what we are about and what we represent. And I think people appreciate that vulnerability and appreciate the fact that like, that's what we're traveling around doing. And they were able to be there on that night and see that and feel that and be a part of it. So yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of the show.
Nice. I know you've played, you play in other bands. Have any of you been like closer to like Mexican regional music now that it's kind of like catching on into somewhere else that's not Mexico? I don't know if you've ever heard of it even. But
would you classify it as cumbia? or something like that.
Yeah, cumbia. Well, you've probably heard cumbia. But yeah, like cumbia and like banda, because banda has a lot of like it has brass.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna say the same thing I'm about to say.
You
but
say it.
Our trombone player Matt Davis, him and his wife Jess, they're real into the Latin scene in Chicago. And she's an amazing percussionist, and they like, what's the name of Eso?
It's a really cool cumbia band.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
So yeah, I mean, we've done some of that, and like I said, with Radio Free Honduras, some of the rhythms from Honduras, like a punta. Charlie, who played in a band called Banda Blanca, he wrote a very famous song called Sopa de Caracol.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So we would travel around with him. So yeah, I mean, all that stuff's near and dear to us, and love it. And Chicago kind of has like a lot of it, actually.
Chicago's super Latin.
It's I mean, you could go out and hear like, you could hear it any night of the week.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm trying to figure out like how, because I'm like, if there's any kind of band that like has that both like that mix between like a very like Chicago sound and Latin, and not just like just Latin or just
Yeah.
Well, there's Eso, and then there's
Eso.
What's the other one?
I'm totally blanking right now too.
But definitely check out Eso.
With Daniel Villarreal. What's their name of them?
Sam.
Dos Santos.
Dos Santos is another one from Chicago. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's a new one that I'm actually trying to hook a show up with them and us. I'm gonna mess up the pronunciation, but it's Cabeza de Chivo, I think. De Chivo. And like they're sort of blowing up, and they have that Chicago
like
Latin crossover. And I actually want us to do a split bill. So hopefully that'll happen. I mean,
I mean, I guess I don't know exactly like why it happens.
We opened for the LA band.
Los Yesterdays.
Yeah, have you heard of them?
Los what?
Los Yesterdays.
No, Los Yesterdays.
Yeah, check them out. They're awesome.
Nice. And
kind of like a Latin soul crossover
from LA.
Yeah, from LA.
Oh,
It's really
nice. Well, okay, so it makes sense to if there's going to be a crossover, and then LA could be a great like place to have that crossover.
Yeah, well, they came to Chicago and we opened for them. This is not only like 2 months ago.
Okay.
I mean, I thought the crowd was into what we were doing, and
nice.
It was reciprocal, so it was cool.
Because I guess like there should be. I feel like sometimes there is this. It might be just like I'm not appreciating it from the like a correct perspective or whatever, but I do feel like sometimes Latin music is just like very like just Latin, and there's there is obviously there's a lot of like mix in how Latin music grew is obviously influenced by so many other music and instruments and the way everything has evolved, but the way it is now I feel like it is a little bit like conservative. So I was just wondering, like, there's so many cities in the US that are like very Latin, and I haven't really been able to like hear that crossovers.
You should come to Chicago.
So
there's a lot of it.
There's a lot of it.
Nice.
And one of our favorite, I don't want to speak for everybody, one of my favorite radio stations in Chicago is a station called Vocalo, and they do play local artists on the station, and it's nothing to hear like a hip hop song and then the next song's all in Spanish, but it's still like a hip hop song.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of that soul, hip hop, Latin crossover happening in Chicago, and there's still a lot of the kind of the cumbia and the more traditional stuff, but they're still kind of mixing it with this sort of soulful Chicago horn vibe. It's really cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah, then I'll check it out. So you're playing tomorrow. You're playing today here,
Yes.
of course, but you're playing tomorrow in
Portland. At the Jack London.
Nice. This won't come out before
That's fine.
but I was just wondering, you've played there before.
Yeah, I think that's it's gonna be our third show at Jack London.
Okay, and then you play Seattle.
Yeah,
and then you fly back.
Yep. And then the next big show after that is Toronto.
Okay.
Again, yeah.
Okay.
The horseshoe. So.
Nice.
But like Shane said at the beginning, I mean, we love coming to the Northwest and up here in British Columbia, and so it's been an awesome place for us to keep coming to. So.
Yeah, you should definitely keep coming. Yeah,
But we
here
will.
miss you.
We'll be back.
Yes.
So this was really fun. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. You guys are awesome. I really am looking forward for tonight. So yeah, cheers to you,
Nope.
you guys. Yeah,
Yes.
cheers.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.